Hello folks, Mr. Shy here. You will be able to enjoy brand new content very shortly. However, before the video begins, I just wanted to try and encourage you, if you would, be so kind as to go and check out my brand new website that I've just finished constructing. It's www.thatmrshy.com. There's also a link in the description if you are the forgetful type or the type that doesn't like typing into your browser, I guess. Thanks, folks. I'm going to be completely honest with you, I'm in a massive rush this week. I didn't have time to film any footage. So I'm making this video mostly because it's fun and it requires me to film very little. I hope you enjoy it. But in all seriousness, I do think this is going to be a bit of fun. I'm quite looking forward to it, and I hope that you take it with the good-natured will that it's intended with. I want to talk about my top 5 hobby hot takes. Hot takes are a staple of social media these days, and some of them are really great. Some of them are very insightful, very thoughtful. Others can be just a bit grisly and a bit mean-spirited. I think my hobby hot takes here are all intended with the best interests of other hobbyists at heart. That's at least what I'm trying to get across. So let's go into it. Let's talk about my top 5 hobby hot takes. Now, I'm not saying for a second that I don't find memes funny, but memes are so effective at directing people's attitudes and ideas, and that can be a problem. I'll give you an example of this. Not a week recently seems to go by that somebody doesn't comment on how much paint I tend to load into my ferrule of my brush or into the bristles of my brush and some of the painting that I do. Now, in no other world would we take the automatic assumption that someone who does something for a living and has over 30 years experience in that thing doesn't understand how to care for their tools. I've said a number of times casually that I don't really look after my brushes. I know how to, I know that I should, but I just don't really, because I tend to be working to a time crunch, and because I'm working to a time crunch, that's one of the corners that I choose to personally cut. But because the ferrule thing becomes such a meme last year during lockdown, so much so that I actually did a video about it, that we just don't seem to be able to escape it now. And as soon as we see somebody with paint around the bottom of the bristles of their brush, we just feel the need that we have to go in on them. Memes should be these short, sweet little snippets of comedy, not what we're using to form our fundamental opinions. That's just a bit weird. But I think we really need to remember that every time we bust out this bad boy, what we're actually doing is normalizing ability shaming. And that's kind of gross. Not really very cool. Now, whilst I personally do struggle to fit in content creation and ideas therein with this constant stream of new releases, it's important to remember that I'm not the only customer, and neither are you. A busy release schedule from a manufacturer in the hobby means that more people can get the things that they want and desire and have been craving sooner. And complaining about new releases is kind of like complaining that your local ice cream shop got a new flavour in. Like, it might not be your cup of tea, but it's still more ice cream. Okay, firstly, I do want to caveat this one by saying that some professional miniature painters are kind of held to a standard of what they can post on social media by things like contracts and stuff like that. So this is not a blanket statement, it's more of a generalization. However, I genuinely really feel like mini painters need to learn to embrace their work in progresses, their failures, and their fast, dirty works. The constant posting by high-end painters of their masterpieces has all but kind of numbed people at this stage to all but the most epic of painting. And this has a weird knock-on effect in that it can make it really tricky for beginner to intermediate painters, you know, the kind of people that I make content for, to get good feedback on their painting. And furthermore, when that feedback does come in, sometimes it's just kind of tantamount to get good, scrub. Now, obviously, this does go back to an extent to what we discussed earlier with meme culture, but I do think that we can really help mitigate this issue just by sharing our lesser works. Now, we love, as a hobby community, to talk at great length about the virtues of letting people hobby however they like. And I actually completely agree, almost. If how you like to engage with the hobby is causing discomfort, distress, or concern to the people that you regularly interact with, that's probably something that you need to address, and you can't really hide behind the "let me hobby however I want." There's definitely such a thing as consensual humour, where certain jokes are kind of only shared between specific friends with whom they've been cleared. There's been a rule zero discussion, so to speak. But in 2021, with the lay of the land how it is, if you're posting your hobby online, that's not the same thing. Don't make me explain to you why the swastika having its origins in Hindu culture doesn't make it an excuse. When it comes to social media, and I'll be honest, I'm guilty of this too sometimes, we get so used to interacting with the responses to our own posts, especially those of us that post a lot, that we sometimes forget to interact with the posts of other people that we see while scrolling our feeds. To people newer to the hobby, and especially to its burgeoning social media scene, this really does come off as quite cliquey. At very best, it's at least a bit standoffish. Social media's kind of developed in such a way that it's become increasingly bad for this in recent years. If it's not, a meme, as we mentioned before, sharing of your godlike paint jobs, as we mentioned before, or somewhat ironically considering this video, a hot take, it's very easy for people for some reason to just scroll past and not really engage. But for new hobbyists, the social media communities and spaces should be places where they can ask what they think are silly questions and then get genuine good faith answers back in return. I don't see a lot of this right now, definitely in some places, but I'd love to see it becoming more common. And that's it, that's my top 5 hot takes on the current state of the hobby in 2021. Might have been a surprise to some of you, might have been exactly what you were expecting. However, I'd really like to hear actually your hot takes, so drop them in the comments below, but just do me a favour and try not to be too mean about it. And all of that said, if you liked the video, you can of course give it a thumbs up, you can subscribe to the channel, you can enable notifications, you can do all those things. That would be wonderful. If you really want to support the channel, if you check down in the description below, you'll find affiliate links and you will find my Patreon campaign where you can pledge from £1 a month to help support me and make this content. So it's time to say goodbye for now, folks, but thank you so much for watching this one. I know it was a little bit different and I hope you liked it for a change. I'll see you in the next one, everybody. Bye-bye for now.